Flacco is officially named the starter for the Cleveland Browns for Week 1 against the Cincinnati Bengals. Basically, Joe Flacco is starting Week 1. They have many quarterbacks, may even actually keep 4 quarterbacks. We'll see how long it'll last or where it goes. But Flacco was unquestioned the best quarterback in camp for the Cleveland Browns. When I was there, he was pinpoint. He was accurate. Easily QB1, plus a lot of the other guys were injured. Joe Flacco, at his advanced age, almost as old as me, once again the starter.
Rap sheet, don't date yourself like that. And I like the friendly term of advanced age. It's a good haircut, Rap sheet. You are humming on all cylinders in August. We'll talk to you in a little bit. We just heard the news. It was inevitable at times. Cleveland announcing 40-year-old quarterback Joe Flacco as their starter for Week 1. Does this make us feel any differently now? Everything we've said about the Cleveland Browns, what we know about that room, the subsequent decisions that are going to have to come down about these quarterbacks, Kyle. Does this poster mean anything to you now that you know a little bit more about Week 1?
Look, it's all fine. It's fine. The poster's fine. Flacco's fine. This decision is fine. Listen, Joe Flacco. We know everything about Joe Flacco. We all love and respect Joe Flacco. I think he's on his 8th team in 8 seasons. What is he going to be this year? He's going to be the 20th best quarterback in the NFL? Maybe 17th? Maybe 23rd? I don't know. It's the Browns, and you know what they have? They have an adult in the room. They have an adult running the offense. Joe Flacco he's like a chaperone, all right, on the field trip. Or he's like the cool parent who's like, all right, you guys can have beers in my basement, but I'm collecting your keys and putting them in this fishbowl. Like, he's just watching over them, and God bless him for it. This thing got so diffused and so unfun and anticlimactic because all the Browns quarterbacks got hurt. Kenny Pickett was supposed to be part of this, I think. The rookies, God bless them, they got hurt too. It was probably always going to be Flacco because the rookies, as exciting as they are, you don't see 3rd and 5th round picks start Week 1 for the Browns. And you're left as a Browns fan with, as we watch Njoku, who's hilarious. I love Njoku. I hope he has 15 touchdowns this year. They're going to need him to. You look at Flacco and you say, what do you want to say about Joe Flacco this year? What is he going to do? And you say, he's capable, okay? He's a capable veteran quarterback. But capable. He's in the same division as Lamar and Burrow and Rodgers. Like, what are we doing if we're the Browns? Like, what is our upside? What is our dream season? Is it that Flacco continues that crazy run he had a couple of years ago at the end of the season? I'm a little melancholy about it because what's fun about right now for all 32 teams is that there's this big overarching August hope that maybe we have our guy, maybe we have a dream season. And that could be for any team whose quarterback future is mysterious. The Panthers, the Bears, the Vikings, even the Saints, they might think like, this is going to work. We may have our long-term solution and we're going to go on the next decade of winning. And the Browns are like, it's Flacco, he's fine. Hopefully he wins some games and maybe somebody else pans out. It's so strange. They don't really have an answer, but they have an adult, and I guess that's something.
I know, it's patronizing, right?
Yeah, but what can I say?
Hey, Kyle is absolutely right, though.
Yeah.
He's the adult in the room. Mm-hmm. I'm shocked it took this long, to be honest with you. I know they got 2 rookies, and they got Kenny Pickett, who some would say, is he even going to be there once the season starts? So you got to go with Flacco. He's a guy that can start the season for you. If it goes bad, then they can bring in one of the rookies, but they always can go back to Flacco because he's been around for so long. If you start the rookie and then you bench him after week 3 or week 4, you don't know how the confidence is going to go after that. So it's a smart move. But if you're a Browns fan, are you excited about this season? Are you pumped up? It's just kind of, okay, let's get through it.
I think they should be excited. Come on, guys.
Okay.
Let's be excited about this. Joe Flacco, okay? Joe Flacco was with them in 2023. He signed with the Cleveland Browns after Deshaun Watson got hurt. He went 4-1 for you. Based off that performance, he won Comeback Player of the Year for the entire NFL, guys. And to KB's point about when we showed Njoku on the screen, he said he better have 15 touchdowns. KB, every single game, David Njoku caught a touchdown pass with Joe Flacco when Joe Flacco played for the Cleveland Browns. So if he does keep on pace, he should get that. The best David Njoku was in 2023 for those last 5 weeks with Joe Flacco as quarterback. Not only does he have the Comeback Player of the Year award, but we know that he won a Super Bowl championship a while ago, obviously. He was a Super Bowl MVP. So when I look at this QB room, again, it should have happened a long time ago. We talked about it. We knew it was going to happen. But I'm excited. I'm excited. Now, I don't know how excited, but I am excited that the fact that Joe Flacco is my starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns amongst all the other guys in that room. So I like it.
I like your obligatory tone change compared to what the first two guys on the show delivered. It was necessary,
No, we were
Manti.
like
real half.
I know.
To go like
Manti-
a full moment.
Yeah. An ongoing conversation we've had about the New York Giants and the fact that Russell Wilson is oftentimes seen as the adult in the room, and Brian Daboll continuously says he's our starter. But Kyle, yesterday you went as far as to say I think it was over under at 4.5 weeks into the season we will see a Jackson Dart sighting. Let's apply that same exercise to the Cleveland Browns and Joe Flacco. Despite knowing that he is starting week 1, at what point will we see, and who will it be, first off of the bench in that quarterback room? Whether it be Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, or Shedeur Sanders. Or do you think Joe Flacco runs the table and he goes 18 seasons and the Browns just throw him out there and we never see another guy? Manti, just kind of paint the picture for us.
Well, this is how I see it. Obviously, Joe Flacco is a starter. I do see the first person that we're going to see if Joe Flacco doesn't pan out is going to be between the two rookies. Mm-hmm. It's going to be between Dylan and Shedeur. Now, I think it's going to be Dylan, and this is why. And Rodney, you understand this. In the NFL, when they draft somebody ahead of somebody or sign somebody a certain amount of money compared to somebody else, if you're the one that's drafted later or makes less money, you have to be extraordinary. If you are just a fraction better than that person that they drafted first, these guys in the front office don't want to look foolish. They don't want to have people say, well, you drafted this guy 3rd round. Why are you playing the 5th rounder? They're basically the same guy. Shedeur has to be extraordinary. And because of that, because it's going to be so soon, I think Dylan is going to be the first person we see. I think when you look at Kenny Pickett's been hurt. He hasn't had the opportunity to kind of go out there and prove himself in this full quarterback room. So when I look at it, you're looking at 2 young rookie quarterbacks that have had solid debuts. And shout out to Tommy Rees for doing it, because I think when you have these type of performances from young quarterbacks, you have to give credit to the guy who's calling the plays, and that's Tommy Rees. I think we're going to see Dylan first if they have to go that way. And that's going to be a certain type of dynamic, Rodney, that we're going to have to be watching as this season unfolds.
Yeah, it's a tough one. And look, we're all rooting for Joe Flacco to play all 17 games and just have a crazy season, but that probably won't happen. I agree with you. I think Dylan Gabriel will be the first rookie to start for them at some point. But the problem with that is I don't think he's going to get a whole lot of leeway. The margin for error for him is going to be so small, because if he struggles in any way, there's going to be calls for Shedeur, right away. Yep. And once you start playing Shedeur, it's going to be hard to go back to Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah.
So I do believe Dylan will be the first one, because draft order does matter, like you said. But man, the pressure on this kid is very, very high.
Listen, I think the pressure and fans and all that, it implies in many different levels. The Flacco conversation is I think it's going to be a win-loss thing. Like, what is their record? If he's winning games in any way on this Browns team, he continues to start. I mentioned he's capable, all right, and he goes against Burrow and Lamar in his own division. Guys, those are the opening games. They play the Bengals and they go to the Ravens. Like, the Bengals, for all their faults, especially early on, Joe Burrow and that offense are going to fly up and down the field. How many passes is Joe Flacco going to have to throw in the opener? I have an over-under of around 40. Like, they're going to have to put up a bunch of points in that game, I think, against the Bengals, and then they go at Baltimore. So let's just – and then, by the way, after that, it's Green Bay and it's Detroit. So I think you're looking squarely – 1-3 is very much in the question after 4 games, very much. So you're sitting there at 1-3, and the fans start to say – Joe Flacco, all due respect, but if we're 1-3, let's at least make some progress. Let's see what we have in one of these people, even if it is Kenny Pickett, who we traded for and has played a lot of football and started a bunch of games compared to those rookies. So I look at that kind of quarter pole position. After they play Detroit week 4, if Flacco's up there and they're 2-2 even, or 1-3, or 0-4, then it's like, Joe, thank you very much for driving the car and getting us on the road, but we got business to do, and we have a lot of prospects and a lot of assets that we've spent money on. We need to see what we have. So the answer to the question, it's honestly, I would say Kenny Pickett. You just don't see again early on in their rookie year a 5th-round rookie pick put in there. You don't see it. You don't see a 3rd-round rookie pick. You do see Kenny Pickett, who is a 1st-round pick and who's been around and started games. It is not exciting. It is not interested. I don't really want to see Kenny Pickett start for this team. I don't think Browns fans do. I don't think anyone outside Kenny Pickett does. But it is the most practical thing that they could do. And by starting Flacco, the Browns are showing us they're doing practical things.
Kyle, I'm actually glad that you said Kenny Pickett's name as frequently as you just did in that last take, because it's kind of been this awkward side conversation that no one has acknowledged. Like, he's still a name that's there, and despite an injury, the guy started significant games for Pittsburgh. He was on an Eagles roster and has had a lot of experience. He's one of these backups that has probably garnered a lot of education and knowledge at the quarterback spot and maturity as his time has gone on in his career. But Kyle, at some point, I mean, there has to be some sort of roster movement where it becomes people clearing waivers and guys being signed to practice squads. Like, how uncomfortable does this thing get when you have Flacco and then a maturity and experience drop off to 2 rookies, or the whole thing, the dynamic of decision making here is going to get real murky in the next 3 to 4 weeks.
Well, Jamie, if you want discomfort and murkiness, I will also submit to you that there is a quarterback who is getting nearly $250 million fully guaranteed from the Cleveland Browns, who apparently is doing really well in his rehab. And Mary Kay Cabot, who knows better than anybody, was talking recently about how she would not be shocked if Deshaun Watson was back in the play this year for the Browns. And anybody with the Browns organization right now is singing about Watson, about what a leader he's being, and he's around the facility doing this and this and that. So I saw a report yesterday that the Browns may carry 4 quarterbacks on their 53, which is really rare, and also not great because then you can't have a linebacker or receiver on that spot. If that wasn't enough, what about Deshaun Watson coming in October and November and being like, I'm ready, guys? It's unbelievable. I've never seen it before. It's a total mess. I tried to be nice to start the show. Now I'm just saying it's a total mess. All they can do is somehow show up and shock the world and start winning those 4 games because beyond that, they have such a good coach, they have such a good pass rusher, and they have such a ridiculous gumbo of insane nonsense going on in the quarterback room that we don't even know where to point our fingers.
There he is. I just figured if I poked at him enough, we would get the real Kyle. Like, at first, we started off so calm and just neutral about it.
You're trying to be positive.
No.
It's starting to be a positive show, and you start the show with 50 questions about the 2025 Browns. What am I supposed to say? Yeah, they're going to win the AFC. Sure.
Buying or keep trying? Rodney Peete at the breakfast table with us yesterday and today. So, Rodney, I'm going to tee up a topic in the NFL. And you got to tell me, are you buying? Are you investing in this? Or tell me to move along and keep trying, all right?
All right.
Here we go. The Patriots are trying to get back to their AFC East glory days. And their executive vice president of player personnel, Elliott Wolf, is not afraid to make big moves to accomplish this.
There's a couple big names available trade-wise. Would you be willing to swing a big trade at this point in the season where the calendar is?
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking to all 31 other teams and trying to do what's best for us. And if something presents itself, I think those things are often a lot more complicated than the fans and some others like to make it believe. But if there's something that we think can help us, we'll definitely be open to it.
Okay, Elliott Wolf, we see this is Elliott Wolf, by the way, everybody, in case you want to know. This man is the one with the quotes about how the Patriots could improve the organization, the team, to return to their great days, their winning days, if you will, in New England. Are you buying what Elliott Wolf is saying, Manti, about what the Patriots could try to accomplish here?
I'm buying them, Jamie. I'm buying it. Now, he said there's 31 teams. Elliott, you don't need to talk to 31 teams. Just talk to 2. There's the Dallas Cowboys and Cincinnati Bengals. There are 2 defensive ends, probably one of the best defensive ends in the game, that requested trades from their team. One actually has a team that's trying to shop him. So if you're trying to trade for anything, listen, last year the Patriots defense, they blitzed at the 8th highest rate in the NFL. However, with that rate, they were 30th in QB pressure, 31st in QB hits, and last in sacks. So you need some help when it comes to revamping and revitalizing that glory days of the AFC East if you want to. There are 2 guys out there that are unhappy with their contracts. There are 2 guys out there that want a better situation. Now, whether they stay with their team or not, you have 2 guys that haven't suited up yet. So if you're going to make any calls, you don't need to make calls to all 31. There's just 2 of them that you need to make a call to, and it's one to the Dallas Cowboys and one to the Cincinnati Bengals.
What do you got, Rodney? Buying or keep trying?
I'm buying.
Aye.
I'm buying. Look, they got rid of their head coach after 1 year in Gerard Mayo last year, and they brought in Mike Vrabel, a guy that they love in the building. He's a former linebacker, all-pro, do-it-all, tough-nosed guy. I agree with you. I think that you make some moves. I don't think you need to make 2 calls because the guy in Dallas, I think, is going to stay and end up signing there. But call Cincinnati right now and get Hendricks in there because he is a disruptor. He's a Mike Vrabel type of player. So I'd make that move right away with Cincinnati and Hendricks.
I'd keep trying on Hendrickson. I'd be buying on Parsons, though. I'd call Cowboys for them. Just see. Maybe it's impractical. Maybe it's too expensive. Maybe the Cowboys don't let him leave. I just look at the age difference. He's 4 years younger than Hendrickson. The Patriots, as a core, are young. It's the Drake May era. You got to build something you can grow with. You know, you may get a season or 2 out of Hendrickson. You may get 8 out of Micah Parsons. And I don't know. I just feel like also in the AFC East, like all roads lead to Josh Allen on the Bills. They win the division every single year. He's the most dominant player in the division and the league. Like, you have to have an Allen hunter. You have to have like a guy who's saying, my job is twice a year or 3 times a year that I run after 17 on the Bills. We've seen the Chiefs force teams to draft guys like this, to acquire guys like this. In the AFC North, you see guys who are just there to run after Lamar. The Patriots need someone like this, and Vrabel and the teams that he was on in New England came from really good defensive linemen, really good pass rushers. It's what he cut his teeth on. Hendrickson, of course, it's great. He becomes a Patriot tomorrow. The Patriots are way better. I just think it's a little bit of a half measure. Go for Parsons, younger, maybe more talented, maybe more expensive, but you have him for a longer time. You grow old with him. I'm buying on that one.
Yeah, Mike Vrabel having a defensive background. If you know, they're the defensive coordinator for the Patriots. Terrell Williams, he's a D-line coach by trade. And he was very instrumental last year and the past 2 years with the Detroit Lions and getting Aiden Hutchinson over there. And we all know what Aiden Hutchinson does for the Lions. So everybody's point, I think we all talked about the same 2 people. It just makes sense for the New England Patriots to attack one of those 2 people. If you can't get both, Christmas.
Just a note on Elliott Wolf standing up there and having this stance about the Patriots. This is a guy that worked in Green Bay for a very long time, was always very influential in the player personnel department for the Packers, a team in which they won the Super Bowl while he was there. 6 foot, 278-pound defensive tackle Elijah Chapman in at fullback. Offensive coordinator Mike Kafka says the move has been keeping the equipment manager very busy.
Yeah, the physicality, you see it on defense, and so it was cool to see it translate on the offensive side and him go stick his face in a block. And yeah, he's broken a couple face masks over the course of training camp. So he's doing a great job though. Really cool.
I just feel like that's not what you want in training camp with your own guys, is breaking each other's face masks. But that's a take. That's a stance. Are we buying or keep trying that we would like to see more defensive linemen in at fullback? Kyle, you actually have to answer last on this round when it comes to a fullback conversation. Manti, you go first.
I'm not buying it.
No?
As a defensive, I don't want that. I don't know anybody that wants that kind of smoke, guys. Listen, I played linebacker, okay? Now, I know this currently we have like Patrick Ricard for the Ravens. Yeah, Scott Matlock for the Chargers. But when I played, guys, there was guys like Don Terry Poe. The Chiefs drafted him as a D lineman. He played not only fullback, but wildcat for the Chiefs. Like, I remember him down there in the deep, low red zone playing wildcat. Then he had Will Tukwuafu. And talk about breaking face masks. I just saw Marshawn Lynch talk about how before every game, him and Will would get together and see who could break the first face mask. That's the mentality for these guys. And then I played against Domata Peko for the Bengals when he was the fullback. And they would put him in short yardage situations, goal line situations. And I remember watching him block Troy Polamalu on that play. I don't know if anybody's seen that play, but he blocks Troy Polamalu in the end zone and just depletes the legend himself. So I'm not buying this just because I don't want that. I don't know anybody. The linebackers nowadays are getting even smaller. They're like basically former safeties. Now you put a D lineman at fullback and you have him go block one of those guys. Guys, come on now. You don't want that. Mike Robb once said, one of our brothers, he said, the best player is an offensive guy with a defensive mentality. And that's basically what you get. That's literally what you get when you put one of those D linemen at fullback. So Yeah, I'm not buying it because I don't want that type of smoke.
That's why I'm buying it. Because I want that smoke. Yes, absolutely. What do the Giants have to lose? Put him back there. Let him go. Even give him the ball sometime. Listen, when a guy like that comes into the huddle, I'm going to tell you, the whole offense kind of starts to perk up. And then those guys sitting on the bench, resting, whatever, he goes in the game. Those defensive guys that are usually resting or talking to the coach, they're going to stand up and see what happens on that play. It just gives a level of energy to the offense when he comes in the game. So I'm buying it all the way.
Yeah, listen, Manti is laying it out. Like, these guys, these D tackles are so big, if you put them at fullback against those small linebackers, that's unfair. Exactly. That sounds great. Let's do it. Let's hit them as hard as we possibly can. Manti, you're not in the game anymore, dude. You're sitting there like with your highlighters and your paper. They're not coming for you. Hell yes, I want to roll. In fact, give me the Chapman VO again. Just let me see this guy. I guess my only complaint is like, can we hit someone a little more? Like a pancake 21. Go and turn into the big guys. Like it wasn't the craziest rep I've ever seen. He kind of waits and just go, dude. Just plow everything in front of you. We can spitball that a little bit and work on it. But yes, of course, it's now at the point. Like, listen, you go back to 1985. And William Perry is down on the goal line, and it was this crazy thing that a guy weighed 300 pounds. It was this astronomical number. Oh, we have it. I didn't even know. Wow, you guys are quick on the trigger. So there's the greatest running back of all time going behind a 300-pound fullback, and the fullback gets the ball. Walter Payton, no. William Perry, yes, even in the Super Bowl. One of Mike Ditka's greatest career regrets is not giving it to Payton, but that's a different segment. Yeah, this is the future. Now, there is another option, guys. There's something called, and follow me, write this down. There's something called the tush push, in which your quarterback takes the ball and you can have someone push his buttocks, and it works almost every single time, and it's still legal. So you could do that as well. But when they eventually ban it, sure, bring in the D tackles to play fullback. Why not?
Hold on, put that Chapman clip back on there. I got to give some context. Guys, this is the reason. Yeah. Defensive guys are really good at a lot of things, okay? What we're not good is blocking. If you ever want an example of that, just watch an interception. Watch defensive guys. Like, look at Chapman in it. When I saw him, it reminded me of when you get an interception on defense, and defenders just don't know what to do. We don't know who to block. Matter of fact, a lot of times we just run alongside the guy who intercepted the ball because we don't know what to do. So I feel you, Chapman, on this one. Like, that's the thing. When you put these D linemen over there, or any type of defender on the offensive side of the ball, you got to teach them. Like, hey, go block. If you just tell them, go block that one guy, we can do the job. But if you have us start reading and be like, okay, if this happens, block the linebacker. But if this guy comes, block the safety, we don't know what to do. Just watch an interception. Watch defenders watch the teammates of a guy who intercepted the ball and watch them try to block. We oftentimes don't block. So to Chapman's defense, that's what happened.
You're like the armor that comes up and around the Batmobile, like as it's going forth, like the extra, and then they just move forward through whatever terrain that they have to go forward in. I don't do this very often. Yeah.
Let's do the highlight on Sunday at the World Games in Chengdu, China. The gold medal flag football game brought together two of IFAF's global elite women's flag powerhouses. And let me tell you, folks, it lived up to its billing. Let's get to the action. Diana Flores, La Cabra, and Team Mexico came into the gold medal game against Vanita Crouch's USA team, and here we go. First half, no score, Team USA. Vanita Crouch to Ashley Clam, who flexes the muscles, and USA leads 7-0. Vanita Crouch, but then she's picked off by Team Mexico's Allison Salazar. The interception would lead to a Team Mexico to take a touchdown, 8-7 lead. Still first half. Diana La Cabra hits a wide open in the flat to Nia Rincon, and look at the speed on Rincon. Where are the next-gen stats? That's about 23 miles per hour. Team Mexico leads 14-7 at halftime. Then Flores picked off by Delia Autry Jones, who runs the hyphen right off her name for a pick six. 14-13, USA's fired up. Flores, though, bounces back with a laser to Monica Rangel, who makes a fantastic catch for the touchdown. 2014, late in the game, 33 seconds left. Vanita Crouch goes to Madison Fulford. Boom for the touchdown. They would convert the one-pointer to take a 21-20 lead, but in the final seconds, Flores finds Victoria Chavez in the back of the end zone. La Cabra rolls right, wide open, walk-off, win. Viva Mexico! 6 puntos! Unbelievable, incredible game. 26-21 Mexico as they celebrate their victory on the podium. And look at the other GOAT. GOAT to GOAT love. Tom Brady, shout out to the U.S. women's team for fighting hard all week. USA was great. Mexico had their number in the final moments. Absolutely electric. I love it.
That was electric, Kyle. Thank you very much. Yeah, Brady with the Instagram shout out. If those girls get that treatment, then who knows what's coming for them. To watch the gold medal game on demand, you can visit live, theworldgames.org. We got more Good Morning Football coming your way, but go to that website and enjoy that again. That thing was action-packed. Well done. Congratulations to all the athletes. How many times has your last name been used in a turn, in a twist, and turned into segments or games or nicknames or what have you?
If I told you how many...
Don't say you'd have to kill me.
And I got $1 for every time
okay, good.
It was done, I probably would be a rich man.
Richer than you already are. All right, well, here we go. We're going to try it again. It's a new segment on GMFB that we're going to call Rinse and Repeat in honor of our friend at the table, Rodney Peete, here for a couple of days. I'm going to present from last season 2 league leaders from the 2024 season. You're going to pick which one of these players is likely to repeat the accomplishment that they had last year, all right? So first up, we're taking a look at, are these players rinse or repeat? Which one will repeat this accomplishment? First up, Saquon Barkley led the league with 2,005 rushing yards. Ravens running back Derrick Henry tied for the league most rushing touchdowns with 16. Is Saquon more likely to lead the league again in rushes or Henry in rushing touchdowns, Manti?
Last week, KB gave a stat on the 2,000-yard rushers. I'm not going to say it because you got to tune into kickoff because that's where he presents it. But it was mind-blowing, okay? I'm not so confident about the 2,000 rusher, but I am confident about Saquon Barkley. So I'm taking Saquon Barkley. Why? Because he has the Eagles' offensive line. He has a one-back system, which Greg Roman said is prehistoric. Well, the Eagles still have a one-back system. Saquon Barkley is their guy. And Saquon Barkley is going to get those touches because of that. So because of those factors, those 2 factors specifically, number 1, he is Saquon Barkley, and he's the only running back in the backfield for the Eagles. And number 2, he has one of the best O-lines in the NFL. I think that out of those 2 situations, Saquon Barkley, Rodney, is going to repeat.
Okay. I'm going to disagree.
You're going to go Derrick Henry?
Yeah, I'm going with Derrick Henry scoring touchdowns. I think that he has done that throughout his career. Plus, I think Saquon in Philadelphia is going to get a steady diet of make Jalen Hurts beat us. Make Jalen, I don't know why, because he doesn't. Kansas City tried it in the Super Bowl and ended up being the MVP. So that doesn't work very good. But Derrick Henry is a beast. He stays healthy. For Baltimore to go where they want to go, he's going to have to score a lot of touchdowns. So I'm going with Derrick Henry.
I'm definitely going with Derrick Henry. It is very, very, very difficult to be the league rushing champ back-to-back years. In fact, the last guy to do it was Derrick Henry. Also, Manti mentioned this, and he said he's not going to say it, but I'm going to. 2,000-yard rushers the next year. The history's not great, and it doesn't mean that Saquon's not going to have a great season or the Eagles aren't going to win the Super Bowl, but you can pick who you want, going back to OJ, Jamal Lewis, Adrian Peterson, whoever you want. The 2,000-yard rushers, there is a large drop-off the next season. Sometimes it's 600, 700, even 1,000 yards, or they get injured, and I don't want any of that to happen. I'm saying that the Eagles are going to have to do different things this year. I also just think it's much easier to score a bunch of touchdowns than it is to lead the league in rushing because some of the touchdowns or half the touchdowns going to be 1-yarders. And let's not forget, the Ravens don't really do the tush push. They're not like the Bills. They're not like the Eagles. They hand it to the guy, and he will get all those little 1-yard, 2-yard fantasy football lovers touchdowns. Derrick Henry, as I've said many, many times, is when perfect genetics meets perfect work ethic. He still has it. He still will have it. I do not expect Saquon Barkley to lead the league in rushing this year. I expect Derrick Henry more likely to score the most touchdowns, though.
All right, moving on to the quarterbacks. More likely to repeat. Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow led the league with 43 passing touchdowns last year, while Chargers QB Justin Herbert had the fewest interceptions in the league with just 3. Who is more likely to hit their mark again? Manti, you're up first.
I think that it's going to have to be Joe Burrow. He's going to lead the NFL. And the reason why is this, guys. Listen, if you look at that defense in the preseason, This is a series. These are the results of the series. Touchdown, field goal, touchdown, touchdown. All of those touchdowns were all rushing touchdowns. And if you're the Bengals, you're going to be playing by the looks of this defense, you're going to be in a 2-minute situation a lot of times in this season. And Joe Burrow is going to have to throw for 1 billion yards with Jamar Chase. So I think that it's going to have to be Joe Burrow is going to repeat as throwing for more TDs and more yards in the NFL.
Got you.
Yeah, I'm going with Joe Cool to repeat. Just for a lot of reasons. But if they don't sign Henderson back, they're going to be playing from behind most of the season. And Joe is going to have to throw the ball 40, 50 times a game, and a lot of those will be touchdowns. They're going to be in some shootouts. So I'm going with Joe Cool.
I'd love to go with Herbert. Just to zag on the segment, I don't believe, though, that Herbert will have the fewest interceptions of any player again this year. Last year was really pristine. A couple things. One, he lost his starting offensive tackle, and we know that a lot of interceptions start with pass rush. That's not great for throwing picks. Also, sometimes it's not the greatest thing to have the fewest interceptions in a way. If Herbert's really going to stretch the field, he's going to take more shots, he's going to get more comfortable with his weapons, interceptions will happen. As long as it's not too many, that's fine. But as far as Joe Burrow, listen, Peyton Manning has the record. He threw 55 touchdowns in one season, and I think he's on alert this year. I do. The Bengals spent all their money on a quarterback and 2 wide receivers. They damn well better throw a lot of touchdowns. I don't see how it doesn't work out. They're out there looking like the greatest show in turf in preseason games with Burrow running around making plays. Again, Peyton Manning threw 55, Brady threw 50, Mahomes threw 50. The most Burrow has ever thrown is 43. I think he flirts with the record this year of 55, especially in the 17-game season.
All right, speaking of airmail, while the Commanders are looking to navigate another Cinderella year, which one of these two teams do you think you are more eager to see take the field in Week 1, Kyle, knowing their makeup as it stands right now?
It's the Bengals. It's just shock and awe. 18-12 overture. I don't anticipate their offense to be anything other than nuclear. I don't anticipate their defense to be particularly good, especially if their best player is not even out there. I said it earlier in the show. I'll say it again. The record for touchdown passes in a season is Peyton Manning. He threw 55 touchdown passes in 2013 with the Denver Broncos, and I think Joe Burrow's taking a run at that this year, especially since he has another game to do it. If you remember the 2013 Broncos, Peyton Manning debuted and threw 7 touchdowns in the first game. He threw 4 touchdowns or more 9 times, and all of this seems like this crazy statistical nonsense. It's not. I think Burrow could do it, and I think he'll have to do it. There's also just so much tied into this team, this Bengals team. They're so interesting in this fact that they're so flawed. And we know they had one of the worst defenses in this era last year. And now they're going to take that defense and take their best player off of it. It's so weird. Maybe Shamar Stewart comes out and has this Rookie of the Year season. But in the meantime, if you want to tune in for football and see a guy just chuck it, if that's your definition of entertainment, it's definitely mine. I want to see the Bengals.
Rodney, what about you?
I'm with you because I think the Commanders make me a little nervous. We just heard about Brian Robinson Jr. maybe not being there, and then you don't have Scary Terry on the outside that he relied on so much last year. So I'm a little nervous about the Commanders. But the Bengals, they're going to be throwing parties every Sunday, and he's right. They're going to light up that scoreboard. They're going to probably be playing from behind most of the games that they play in. So I'm looking for Joe Burrow, Higgins, and Chase to just light up the scoreboard.
Listen, I was going to go Bengals too, but we can't go 3 in a row on this, so I'm going to go Commanders. All right, I want to see the Commanders play. I think if you turn on the game last night, the more exciting team is the Commanders. You have Jaden Daniels. Obviously, with all of this trade talk with Robinson Jr., what does that mean for Austin Eckler? Is Terry McLaurin going to be there Week 1? If he is, great. If he's not, what's going to happen? Because you heard a lot of narrative and talk about what it meant to not have Terry McLaurin out there, not only from Cliff Kingsbury, but from Jaden Daniels to Bobby Wagner. It's just different. So that's what I want to see as far as the excitement. Also, Von Miller now going there. Like, what does he look like in situations? We often compared him to Ray Allen going to the Celtics late in his career and hitting game-winning, series-winning shots. Like, what does that look like for them defensively? And they're in one of the hardest divisions in football in the NFC East. So I'm really looking forward to the Commanders.
the case for the Commanders is they're a better team. They play better football. They don't have a better offense. The case against the Bengals, and that's if they come out this year like they did last year, who knows if they will, is that it's nonsense. You're not supposed to score 38 points and lose, or 34 and lose, or 33 and lose, or 38 again and lose. That was terrible. They were not a good team. They won a bunch of games at the end of the season, but at one point that's a 4-8 team. And if you're someone who actually likes defense and who likes a little bit lower scoring game, you'd rather watch Washington play than Cincinnati. That's the take. I just went with Cincinnati because I'm just so intrigued. I've seen a lot of good teams. I think Washington will be a good team. I know how it's going to go for them. I have a good feeling for it. At the Bengals, I don't know. I don't know right out of the gates week one. I mean, did they lose to the Joe Flacco Browns week one? Wouldn't surprise anybody.
Yeah.
So there's an intrigue with them and an unveiling of what the hell they're going to look like. That's what I'm interested in.
Well, the reason why I went with the Bengals initially, KB, was I think there's this experiment that Zach Taylor is going through with his starters. Like, this is the most the starters have ever played in the preseason. And I started to try to ask why. Well, if you think about the Bengals the past 3 years, they've had slow starts the past 3 years.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, they went 2-2 in 22. 1-3 in 23 and 1-3 in 24. They lost the first 2 games of each of those seasons in the past 2 years. So in my head, I'm thinking maybe he's trying to get those losses out of the way. Maybe he's trying to, hopefully, that they're hitting their stride, which they usually do around game 3 or 4 of the season. Hopefully, maybe he's trying to get all of that stuff and start week 1 the way they started week 3 and week 4 in the past couple years. So I wanted to see if that actually works for the Bengals. So that's why I had the Bengals.
I bet.
I thought he did a good job today, and we had 26 plays of team, and he did a really nice job of managing the huddle. I thought he saw the field well. I thought he went where the ball should go, and there was some good competitive work on both sides today. Yeah, I think what's really happened is when you look at it, there was a lot of things that we had talked about at the beginning, and it's kind of gone a little bit differently than what we had planned. And I think the right thing to do for everybody involved is truly take it a day at a time. I think where I've gotten, myself, I don't even want to say myself, but you set expectations, and it's really like, as we're getting a grasp of this, and he's doing everything in his power, and Reggie and our group are doing everything in their power, and that's where you just take it a day at a time, because it's a very fluid and situation that demands flexibility as well.
Fluid, flexibility, and still taking it one day at a time. But Stafford practiced yesterday. Rap sheet. Get back in here, please. Ian Rappaport. We understand what the coach said. We understand that practice went a certain way yesterday for the Rams. But what are you hearing is the latest in the goings-ons of the QB1 with the Rams?
First of all, the fact that QB1 for the Rams was on the field yesterday was a very, very big deal. Cannot possibly overstate this. This is really what we've been waiting for over the last several weeks or months for Matthew Stafford. He has been dealing with an aggravated disc. He received an epidural. He is thrown 2 separate times for the Los Angeles Rams, hoping that he would be able to bounce back enough to get back on the field. The first time, which was 2 weeks ago, I believe, it didn't happen. Threw and then was not able to practice for a week. The Rams were just trying to get to a point where they got some improvement, got some positive momentum for his back, and he was able to practice. The fact that he was able to do it yesterday is an excellent sign. He didn't do 60 throws. It was more like in the 20s. They took it real easy on him because the goal is not to go out and play a game. He's not going to go out and play a game tomorrow. The goal is to get him back on the practice field at some point soon. Maybe it's today. Maybe it's tomorrow. The hope is no setbacks, improvement, and Stafford is able to be upright for week 1. And the reality is, it is a long season. Stafford has been through it, and he is very good. The only thing that matters is to get him at full health to week 1, and a very big step in that direction yesterday.
Yeah, Rap Sheet, thanks so much. The hope is, as what Ian just laid out, but it's also so we can stop using words like take it one day at a time, or this, we have to be flexible about this, or fluid. But speaking of fluid, here comes the question at hand when it comes to Matthew Stafford. Kyle, you have to go first on this. Is your cup half full or half empty when it comes to your investment and the outlook of the first couple of weeks for the season for the Rams with Matthew Stafford's health in mind?
Well, personally, I don't have a cup, but I do have a scale, and I have the StaffCon scale with which we measure our concern and the emergency status of Matthew Stafford's health. Let's bring it up. We've been tracking this for a while. Here's the levels. Level 5, oh, it's still early, LOL. And then you get more concerning. The vibes are off. Mayday, mayday. Dry heaving, and level 1, save us Jimmy G. That is the level we go to if Jimmy Garoppolo is going to start the season for the LA Rams. We don't want to see that. So where are we right now? Let's start bouncing the scale. You might think the vibes are off before, but he's practicing, right? So put him up to it's still early, LOL. You animate the thing and move it. It's still, no, I'm not doing that. Knock him down to the vibes are off. I don't think it's still early, LOL. I think the vibes are off. If we can adjust it or not, we'll work on it. I have it at level 4. Put it on level 4. There we go. I don't care that he had one practice yet. I will not upgrade him to level 5 until we see how he recovers from that practice, until the dialogue changes around him, like you mentioned, Jamie, until we can have a single conversation about Matthew Stafford that doesn't have the words fluid, flexibility, or the phrase one day at a time. I will keep him at level 4. Now, if he's off the practice field again, meaning that he was out there throwing and aggravated something, then we may go to Mayday. But right now, I am locking at level 4. I still think the vibes are off. The visuals are better. The vibes are still off.
Mayday is actually what the production staff says when Kyle asks them to live change the StaffCon stale number. But like, we got there.
They did fine.
We did great. We
great.
landed on level 4.
Great job,
okay, there's
everybody.
no panic, Rodney. Where are you with half cup, half full, half empty?
All right, so are we going with the scale?
Well,
or
whatever you want to do.
What I mean?
Did you like? You kind of like the scale.
I do. I like Kyle's scale. And
put it up.
I'm with you on the vibes are off.
Okay.
Because you can, vibes are off.
Level 4.
Yeah, level 4, the vibes are off. So, you can simulate a lot of things for a quarterback, but you can't simulate in practice getting hit.
Yeah.
Because quarterbacks don't get hit in practice.
Right.
It won't happen until week 1. So we really won't know how he responds until he gets hit. So to me, the vibes are off on this one until we see him get hit.
It's a good point, Roddy, because the second he gets taken down in week 1 of the season, fans might be dry heaving immediately. Because like that thing might, just because he starts week 1, this thing could go haywire the second he takes a real live action hit.
Oh, I'm answering the question.
Okay, go. Okay,
the question is your cup half full or half empty? My cup is fully empty, all right? I'm going to answer it, but I'm not going to answer it. My cup is fully empty. I done drank all the Kool-Aid that is the LA Rams, okay? I had the blue raspberry lemonade. If you ever saw the label, it's the exact colors of the LA Rams. Matter of fact, it looks like Matt Stafford in that red jersey with the Rams colors behind him. I done drank the Kool-Aid that is the LA Rams. I had a sip of it in the divisional round where they played the Eagles. I had faith when I saw that young nucleus of a defense. And then when they signed Devontae Adams, I drank the whole pitcher, okay? So I'm not half empty. I'm not half full. I'm fully empty like my mug up here on this Tuesday morning in L.A.
You were really excited about your mug. And
I was.
I'm really
and the
proud
Kool-Aid.
Of you. And the Kool-Aid.
And the Rams.
Yeah.
Done drinking.
Manti, you're Efton Chisholm. Did you catch that? I said his name last week, okay? Every week in the preseason, in review, we go back and made sure that you heard some of the names that we mentioned because we want you to be prepared, what have you, for your late rounds in your fantasy draft, or just to sound like the cool kid at the sports bar who knows, like, the 4th depth chart wide receiver on the team, okay? Did you catch that is about pass catchers? That is a technicality there because maybe we have someone that doesn't even play on offense on this list today. Beginning with a Bears wide receiver in Luther Burden III. He is nicknamed LB3 or Trey. And as Kyle Brandt has said about this team, the Bears carry a lot of wide receivers, and he is one of them. In fact, LB3 or Trey ends up clocking out as the fastest wide receiver on the Bears. In first week of the preseason, he hit 19.5 miles per hour, according to Next Gen Stats. He's had 5 catches, good for 78 yards so far in the preseason. This is a kid from East St. Louis. He went to Missouri, and he was a second-round pick for the Bears in 2025. But the Bears carry 11 quarterbacks right now. Do you think Luther Burden III is intimidated by that number whatsoever? No, because he has 9 sisters, okay? There are 10 kids in his family. He is the second youngest, and he's going up against 9 sisters. You want to know why he's fast? He probably got chased as a kid at all times by those girls, and he had to get going. Not only is he fast, this Luther Burden III, he is physical. So you can be a pass catcher, that's all well and good. But if you're at the goal line and you are blocking the way Luther Burden III has for this Bears offense, I think that qualifies you to make a roster spot. He's blocking on touchdowns, and Ben Johnson has gone on so far to say after a practice that here's what I appreciate about Luther Burden. He's working his tail off behind the scenes. This is not just showmanship at the line of scrimmage and catching a ball. It's about blocking, it's about creating opportunities on offense, and it's about allowing your team to punch the ball in at the goal line. Luther Burden III, keep an eye out for this guy in Chicago. Moving on, as I mentioned, I'm feeling this Cowboys nostalgia right now. So when Andrew Booth, the cornerback for the Dallas Cowboys, had an interception this week, that caught my eye for Did You Catch That? Because not only did this corner, after waiting nearly 2,000 days between interceptions for himself, return this thing, he went out and did the Dion a little bit. And this is not an accidental Dion. After the game, Andrew Booth acknowledged that this was an homage to Dion. He picked off his former teammate in Cooper Rush. So these two have gone against each other when Rush was backing up Dak Prescott in Dallas. Now Cooper Rush is playing for the Baltimore Ravens. And Andrew Booth knew a thing or two about reading the scenes and reading the offense about Cooper Rush throwing ball. And he ran that thing back, and he had the two hands on it, and he was going like this. I was hoping we did this list before Charlotte Jones, and then she saw that we put a defensive guy on pass catcher. But whatever. Well, she's probably still watching Good Morning Football. Andrew Booth, you are number 2 on Did You Catch That this week. Moving on to a Jets wide receiver who I know Kyle Brandt will love this, wearing number 37 in the preseason in Quentin Skinner. We're all about improvement when it comes to preseason weeks 1 and 2. So when I tell you that Quentin Skinner had a single catch good for 26 yards, but then in week 2 he jumped to 4 catches on 4 targets for 48 yards, you're starting to see things work for the undrafted free agent out of Kansas. Now, we have a clarification on his Did You Catch That? Because when you watch this touchdown from the preseason week 2, you're going to ask that question, but he's going to tell you that he did.
High snap, handled, Cook, got him, fires it, and it's caught for the touchdown. Quentin Skinner extending.
Well done by Skinner to tap that thing to himself, secure the catch. Those are the kind of plays you need to make as a rookie to make the team. Forget about losing your win. You got to make this team, and you got to come down with that football.
Yeah, 37-39. Skinner's wearing number 39. He's cradling that football because laying out for a one-handed catch and coming down squarely on your rib cage like that has to hurt. Now, he's got a personality. He was seen practicing his touchdown celebrations in practice. Now, on that catch, he couldn't quite get up fast enough to celebrate because his ribs hurt a little bit. But as Ian Eagle said during that broadcast, you come down. It was not a question. Did he catch that? He absolutely did. And Quentin Skinner making a name for himself, trying to be friendly with Justin Fields on this offense to make the 53-man roster. Moving forward to number 4, there's an old phrase that says, familiarity breeds contempt. But in the case of Troy Franklin, familiarity actually breeds success because despite being in his second season with the Denver Broncos, this is this wide receiver's 4th year on the same roster as his quarterback of Bo Nix. The two were at Oregon together, and now they arrived, and they're trying to put this offense to click. But here they are playing for the Oregon Ducks in the last 2 seasons together, and they are in Denver together now. He is a second-year wide receiver. He was drafted in the 4th round. Of course, you have to consider that was Sean Payton's first draft. So he goes out in the 4th round and gets a wide receiver, Troy Franklin. He hung around last season offensively. It was all right. But Sean Payton now this preseason has said he's having a breakout. Now, mind you, when you watch the preseason footage, I understand that it is Jarrett Stidham throwing these touchdown passes to Troy Franklin. But the point is he's hanging with these quarterbacks, and he is trying to work within this offense. Did you catch that, Troy Franklin? Make sure you know his name ahead of this Broncos season for 2025. And lastly, we have a name that jumped off the screen last night. Now, there is a reason why on the full screen after the highlight, we had 2 Jake Browning touchdowns. They both went to Mitchell Tinsley in a matter of 35 seconds on a Monday Night Football preseason broadcast. Joe Buck called this young man's name twice in the end zone for the Cincinnati Bengals.
On first down, end zone, Tinsley with a spinning catch. And I'll say he is opening up some eyes. He sure is. Under 20 to go, end zone shot. Tinsley, come on. Did he catch it? Touchdown is the call. Have a night, Mitchell Tinsley.
This guy, he's showing that he can play in the National Football League tonight.
So Tinsley was actually sent out for the coin toss in this preseason Week 2 game against the Commanders because that is the team in which he was a part of the last 2 seasons. He was on the practice squad for the Commanders, and now he's with the Bengals. And Joe Buck said it. Did he catch that? Yes, he did. Went up and over to bring down 6 for the Bengals last night. 2 touchdowns. Love the kid's story. Hutchinson Community College to Western Kentucky. You know I love a Hilltoppers reference on Good Morning Football. To a final season at Penn State, and he has just been battling. Joe Burrow has gone on to say that in very short form, is he going to make the roster, Mitchell Tinsley? He just says, I hope so. If that's your quarterback and a ringing endorsement in just 2 words, because you're going up and catching balls like that, even if it's Jake Browning, even if it's Joe Burrow, that's what you look like on Monday Night Football in preseason Week 2, Mitchell Tinsley. You're making a name for yourself. That's Did You Catch That from preseason Week 2. We'll be back on Good Morning Football. Did you catch that? Joe Buck said, yes, he did. Take a look at your next Netflix binge. If that poster doesn't scream drama, history, and entertainment, then get your eyes checked. I can't help you. It's America's Team, The Gambler and His Cowboys. And you can stream it today on Netflix. The new 8-part docuseries chronicles Jerry Jones and the Cowboys' impact on NFL history. Take a look at a clip.
In 1989, I get this call, and they said, your dad wants you to call him at home. I called Dad, and he goes, what would you think about moving to Dallas? And I go, what?
When Dad had called, first we thought he was crazy. Then he said, doing this will take absolutely everything we have. You need to know that.
And here I am, 19 years old, Charlotte, 22, Stephen, 25. Felt like we were just kids.
Told my dad, I don't know anything about running a professional football team. And he looked me dead in the eye and he said, neither do I.
And look at them now. No, seriously, look at her now. Because Charlotte Jones, who you just saw in the clip, our friend of the show, co-owner and chief brand officer of the Cowboys, is joining us on Good Morning Football. What's up, Charlotte? How are you?
Yeah.
So excited. This is awesome. Doing great. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. So, Charlotte, I saw you last week at the premiere of this unprecedented access to this team, of this documentary by Netflix. The perspective and the storytelling that what people will watch is truly remarkable. When we go back and look at that clip, there we are at the party. It was lovely to see you, Charlotte.
Yeah.
What is one thing, you and I had this conversation actually right there at that table that we took that picture at. What is the one thing that your dad didn't know when he brought Dallas football into your family? How did you guys navigate that experience? Because as you said it, you guys were flying blind as a group.
Yes, I have such a vivid memory of that day. They say when traumatic things happen to you, you never forget them. And that day was one of them. And I just remember him telling us, and it really is the only time he has ever underestimated something that he has said. And he told us, if I do this, this just may change our life a little. And then off we went on this incredible journey of being involved with this iconic franchise. And I think even at that moment, as passionate as my dad was about wanting to be involved with the Cowboys, that we truly didn't get the magnitude of what we were stepping into. And I think, boy, I know when I watched the first episode, I was almost sick at my stomach, and I had a little PTSD.
Yeah.
That was like a really, really, really difficult time. And, since then, it's like all of these incredible opportunities have been cloaked in dramatic challenge. And how, have we sifted through all of the rough stuff to bring about what has been so positive about this experience. And I think this docuseries really shows that. It takes you back in time. So you feel all the hatred, you feel, all the passion, which, oddly enough, it's you want people to be passionate about the Dallas Cowboys. So it's love and it's hate and it's anger and it's excitement and it's all these things. And we start day one and revisit all of that.
Hi, Charlotte. I know it's been a tremendous, tremendous journey for you and your family. It's been amazing for us to see. I know it's different for you guys who have lived it. But this piece on Netflix is called The Gambler for a reason, because Jerry he wasn't afraid to take risks. outside of buying the team, in your eyes, what's the biggest risk that he took?
I think it's like every day has been the risk. First, was the financial risk, because clearly he didn't really have the revenue to back up the purchase. And I think this is what's so interesting about this story, because I think today's world, you see new ownership come in with different leagues, different teams, and they have an established success and net worth that they're coming in and being a part of something that they love. This was very different for us because it was everything that we had. So there was no opportunity for failure. You had to figure out how to make it work. And I think that everyday heartbeat of, we're losing $35,000 a day, we're losing this money. How in the world do we stop that bleeding? And how do we then become successful on the field? And so both of those were running parallel to each other. So feeling kind of that drama of every day. So every decision was a risk. So buying the team was a risk. Trading Herschel Walker was a risk.
Yeah.
Hiring Johnson was a risk. I mean, he had never coached in the NFL. And here, you drop him into this situation. So it was almost like every single decision that was made was risky.
It's such a great answer, and I totally buy into it. Charlotte, I had this experience recently where I got to sit with Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin and watch one of the old games from the 90s together. And this was from the 95 season in which Barry Switzer was the coach. And yet I found that Emmitt and Irv just constantly kept saying, Jimmy, 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 Jimmy. It felt in so many ways like he had such a looming presence over the organization. It's a big part of the documentary, of course. When you look back at Jimmy Johnson and his time with the Cowboys and the end of it, what do you remember?
Oh boy, I remember that all we could think of is, well, thank goodness we've got Jimmy. He can get in here and help us figure out how, what we're doing and what is happening. And there were so many parts of the story back then, of the puzzle, because the game was very, very different back then. There was no free agency. The draft was different. How you acquired players were different. There was no cap. All those things, and then actually turning around to make the players be successful. How could you do that? And who was going to actually be on the field? All of those decisions. You were just so grateful that someone was equally as passionate as you were about what we were doing. And, every step was filled with such controversy that, when Jimmy came in, we were all fighting the controversy together. And so he was being heavily criticized. My father was being heavily criticized. Everything we did had that scrutiny to it. And, you want people to be passionate about what you do, but man, were they passionate about all of it. And we enjoy that, today. I mean, that's kind of you don't get here without challenge. And that's also an added motivation, I think.
Hey, Charlotte. Look, I was lucky enough to be a Cowboy in 1994, and one of the best years of my life, first-class organization all the way. And trust me, coming from Detroit, no disrespect, it was night and day. But during that time, there were larger-than-life personalities on that team. Michael, Troy, Emmitt, you mentioned Jimmy. How did your dad handle all of those personalities?
I'll have to say this. When we were watching this come about and they would send us the episode, we got to the end of one of them, and my dad looked at me, he goes, man, I forgot how big of a challenge everybody was. We were seeing things for the first time, too, as they hit in this episode, and things we did not remember, things that you chose to forget, all of those things that were wrapped up in this. It's like peeling the onion back and remembering, like, oh, my gosh, that really was going on at the same time all of this was happening. And I think, what's super interesting about this and is for everybody to kind of decipher is, every team has a character on their team. And the fact that these characters and these teams became larger than life, it's like, how did that actually happen? And that, the tag of America's team came around back for Roger Staubach. I feel like everybody was just trying keep up with the tradition of what the Cowboys stood for. And then they had this incredible spotlight. So everything they did was under a microscope. Thank goodness we didn't have any social media back then. I don't think half the team would have survived if we had had social media. So you think about, all of these clips that we were seeing of old news clips that are in this documentary. We didn't even see all of that because unless you were sitting in front of the television, you missed it. Unless you got that paper, you missed it. And so for it all to come back and to be kind of piled on top of each other, it's been a journey to watch it again, but also realize like, man, we survived that.
Yes, it is incredible. I've been able to see some of it, and I was immediately just drawn in. I just put the remote down and watched. It's fantastic. Part of the intrigue, Charlotte, and it's part of the drama over the decades sometimes manifests in these contractual standoffs with star players. I remember all the way back to Emmitt Smith missing games, and it's just part of what happens with the company. That brings us to Micah Parsons now. A lot of fans look at something like this, and they roll their eyes. Some of them laugh, and some of them say, oh, Jerry loves this stuff. He does it for the attention. That's how they feel about it. How do you feel about Micah and just this Cowboys contractual standoff thing that happens all the time, it seems?
It does happen all the time. And then, again, I think that's a testament to people's interest that whatever we are doing, there are other contract holdouts, across the league. Everyone deals with the same issue. We just happen to be on this stage of interest that is more magnified than most. So every little hiccup, every little sneeze is blown up and blown out of proportion and, discussed at a level that is probably, above and beyond where most teams experience it. And so for me, as I sit back and look at it, I think we've developed over time the ability to kind of tune out the noise and just focus on, the issue at hand. And obviously, everybody wants this to be over with. Everybody wants to just play the game. But there is a part of this that is unavoidable. And that's with any kind of contract negotiation. And I do think that, we have, this incredible roster of talent. They're at a very high level. They are being compensated at a very high level. And at the end of the day, you realize that when the pie is gone, there's nothing left. So how do you spread that around to all the talent that you have? And at some point that becomes, the iceberg that's right there that is creates the tension. And how do you divvy that up? And there's, I think it's just part of the game. I think it's the business part of the game that fans don't enjoy. But the ability to feed in and want to be, everybody wants to be a Monday morning quarterback, but they also want to be a Monday morning GM. And they know, everything. And this is part of it. This is life. This is life in the NFL.
Well, Charlotte, I think if I were you, I could not be more proud of my title with this team because as a brand, it is one of the most notorious in sports and in the country, in the world. And that, as the chief brand officer, congratulations to you on everything you've built in your tenure there. And honestly, on both documentaries that are out on Netflix, because I know you have a first-hand involvement in America's Sweetheart, which we just found out is being renewed for a third season. We love having you on. But first and foremost, if you're going to binge watch anything, it's America's Team. We know you do, Kyle. The Gambler and his Cowboys. Charlotte Jones, everybody. We'll see you on Netflix. But go watch this today. And we'll follow up with Charlotte on Thanksgiving, as we always do. Great to see you, Charlotte.
Yes, great to see y'all.